Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS and the CTKS method. There are all-time new highs breaking out all over the place. The stock market and the crypto market have done incredibly well. We've been seeing a surge of upward price momentum inside the crypto market. What caused this, and will it keep going? Or will profit taking take over? Let's find out, and I'm going to give you some really good tricks and tips that you can use to figure out for yourself which way the market is going. Let's run the numbers. The main markets in the past trading session saw a really good advancement, of course, unless you were in healthcare. All sectors inside the US market were up 2.53%. IT did well, but financials just crushed it. The crypto market responded very well. It did incredibly well. ETH up, currently 8.16%. Doge, the profit taking has begun. In just a little under 12 hours, the FOMC has a 97.5% probability of decreasing the federal funds rate by 25 basis points. Looking through the crypto market in the past 24 hours, with the exception of Doge that's just coming down a little bit, we can see that the crypto market has been just roaring higher. The greatest gainer in the top 100 has been ENA, up nearly 37%, followed by Radium, Nero, LDO, Aave, Zek, Maker, and Goat. And the greatest losers are not that bad. We've got Kronos, which is seeing time wind back, just down 3.54%. Tron not shining in the light, but typically shining in the darkness, but the rest of them down just a little bit. Over the past 24 hours, we've had $366 million in liquidations, with the vast majority being short. Yesterday, there were so many short liquidations in the market, that's why we saw enormous price increases. And currently, we're seeing around $622 million flow into the spot Bitcoin ETFs, following 3 days of outflows. Of course, going through the news like this is pretty cool, but realistically we need to look at the cheat sheet, and it's available absolutely free of charge from ctksmethod.org. Let's go to it. Inside the masterclass in TM6, I share this specific chart, and it's a really important one. You'll notice the VIX dropped off a cliff, and what happened to crypto and to the stock market? They rallied like a nut, and literally the VIX dropped the most it's ever dropped inside 20 years. This is a major driving factor for all the all-time highs that have been hit. But just bear in mind, when you get something coming down like this, mean reversion is likely. Price is always moving in a wave, so even if it continues to come down, we would anticipate at some stage, maybe even it's happening right now, to get some degree of mean reversion before it continues. Just always think to yourself, price is always moving in a wave. It's always going down and then up and down and up and down. You can see it. It's inside the price charts. Every price chart does it. This is actually why we need to look through the cheat sheet, especially from a structural level perspective. We can see the bond market flattening out as the yields rose higher. The DXY just went nuts and gangbusters. With yields coming up and the DXY coming up, we saw poor old gold take a bit of a hit. Sorry, Peter Schiff. Now, the one thing we know inside the crypto market, if Bitcoin is coming down, the alts are not going to be escaping Bitcoin's gravitational pull. The total crypto market cap is literally tied to what Bitcoin does from a directional perspective. But if Bitcoin is coming up and it's going nuts, as we complimentary can say, because of the VIX going up, it's going to drive all of the projects absolutely bananas. It's going to go into the banana zone. Oh, Raoul Paul will be very happy. Oh, I should say Raoul Pal. Okay, so we've seen Binance Coin, BNB, Solana, Ethereum, Doge, XRP, ADA, and literally the entire crypto market just go nuts because of the VIX drop-off. Therefore, looking into the cheat sheet, what are we seeing at the current time? We've seen that VIX drop-off, which was really good. And primarily, we're seeing that inside row 1, the VIX is controlling the market. So the VIX drops down, the market comes up. Please keep your eye on the VIX. It's very important. And I'll give you a very clever way to look at the VIX momentarily. And we can see the 10-year coming up, the 2-year coming up. Oil is just kind of all over the place, but the DXY came up and started to flatten out, and dollar yen started to flatten out as well. If you're looking from the DXY structural perspective, as in the indicator released inside the service or your own marked up charts for the DXY, you would have known that there was so much structural support around this area. It is absolutely on the cards that we would have been seeing a bit of a bounce, and that's what we saw. The markets are in a little bit of a turbulent state. Typically we see an inverted relationship between the DXY and crypto and also the stock market, but we're not seeing that at the current time. This is because of what the VIX has been doing. Heading into row 2, when we look at junk bonds, and remember a couple of days ago, I was just looking at this price action here and saying we are likely to be turning around inside the crypto market, and that's what we've done. When you look at the different rows of the cheat sheet, you'll gain an insight into financial markets that only the institutions typically have. It's really valuable. And when we look at the euro dollar, we can see the euro dollar is just moving inversely with the DXY, which is pretty much what it does. And as the DXY and yields come up, what is it doing to gold and to silver? It's pushing them down. A very interesting thing, copper has fallen off a cliff. This is likely in response to tariffs on China. Right now, if you're inside the masterclass or inside the service, please make sure that you look at row 3. Row 3 is vitally important to look at. Here we're looking at the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, Dow Jones, and the Russell 2000. And you can see that blue line, that is Bitcoin. So as the S&P 500 came up, what was Bitcoin doing? It was coming up and it basically pinged it. Look at that confluence. Fantastic. So one thing you need to bear in mind, if we start to get a rolling over of these major indices, just expect some turbulence inside the crypto market. There's a bit of a clever way to keep your eye on the VIX and junk bonds and also the major indices. It's by looking at the futures. You can see the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000, and the Dow. What are we seeing just here? Well, we're seeing that the futures are pointing to a potential positive open for the next trading session inside the US. If we keep on coming up, that means the VIX will keep sliding. If we mean revert, that means the market indices and individual stocks and also the crypto market will come down. Please keep these things in mind. It's very important. The interesting thing, when we look at the different rows, so many charts made all-time new highs. Fantastic stuff. But Apple got smacked around, and Nvidia made an all-time new high as well. Just bear in mind, crypto can give you an excellent insight into the stock market. It's something that you want to pay a lot of attention to. Now, what is this showing with Apple? It's showing systemic weakness. Popping across to row 5, we can see total crypto market cap has been doing really well. It looks like it's actually going to strengthen into the next session. So that's a piece of good news. So please bear this in mind. But keep your eyes on the futures of the major stock market indices. It will help you out tremendously. And when we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been doing really well. ETH has been doing fantastically, and MicroStrategy, yeah, it's just following the market, but it's been doing very well. Something really interesting on this chart. Now, what does this particular chart mean? You can see that Bitcoin was going up and it took Litecoin a little bit of time to get into the swing of things. This is row 6. Litecoin, Binance Coin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum Classic. This distance and difference was about 5 hours. Now, why was this caused? Basically, Bitcoin is the dominant asset class. It took about 5 hours for the alts to feel it. You can see it visually right here. Fantastic stuff to be aware of. So far, we can see a bit of positive momentum starting to creep back into the market. Just keep your eye on the VIX and also inside the futures of the major market indices. That's where to look today. When we go to row 7, we're looking at ADA and Dogecoin and Solana and XRP. Note that 5-hour delay. This is a really fascinating thing that we see inside the market. Doge was just going bananas, just absolutely hounding its way to the top. Of course, profit taking is inevitable. But what typically happens as price gets driven up, retail just floods in only to get smacked onto the wrong side of the trade. This is why becoming familiar with the charts is absolutely critical. A lot of people are very addicted to the news and they say, oh, I watch the news to find out what happened to the chart. Actually, it's the other way around. The chart tells you the news and the news tries to figure it out. In yesterday's video, price action was just down here, and I mentioned that if Bitcoin and total crypto market cap broke out, we had a positive CTKS gap and it could go a little bit nuts. And that's what occurred because the VIX decayed. And the interesting thing, if you were looking at the DXY and the yields, they would have thrown a wrong signal. We have to focus on the VIX at the current time, and we want it to go down. Now, we're around here now, so we need to pop on the indicator from the service, or you can mark this one up if you have level 1 and level 2 standard certification. We can see that the entire crypto market just bulleted up through that positive CTKS gap. The thing is, we knew it was there. That's where we're so different from everybody else. Everybody else needs price action to play out before they know what happened. Well, that's pretty pointless. You actually want to know where their gaps are inside the market and are literally above $2.5 trillion. There's another positive gap. If we start to get above that previous high, things could be going ballistic again. Keep your eyes on the stock market futures. Now, let's just understand this structure for a little while. When you get a positive CTKS gap, it's likely the price will overshoot until all the sellers can come in. Typically, the sellers are hanging at lower levels and they have to cover their positions, and they do that by buying. So the shorts always cause the price to go up in that respect. And we saw this particular level of resistance just come back to a level of support. It did a bit of consolidation through and then broke out at this point. You always want to think, if it's not going below, it's going to the one above. And if it does go below a certain level of structural resistance, it's going to the levels below. It is a very easy way to understand and constrain price. The bears will be seeking to push the entire crypto market down like this, underside retesting at this particular low and seeking to push it down and then collapse it back to this 2.324. Now, that is what they may be able to do if the VIX does that mean reversion. Don't forget, the VIX dropped the most it's ever dropped in 20 years. It would be very, very on the cards for people to take profit. Just to help you out a little bit more, if it breaks below this specific level at just north of 2.45 trillion, that's where the bears are getting a bit of control inside the market. You can recognize this high and this low on your chart. And this is on the 15-minute. Let's just zoom in on Bitcoin. And what are we seeing at the current time? We're seeing a sign of life inside the crypto market in terms of Bitcoin. Now, what could this mean? The real question is, where is the structure? Is it here? Or is it here? Or is it here? Because this is how retail will draw up. or is it somewhere else? In answering that question, we need to mark up all of price history. Now, what do we see? We also see that we've got a level of structural support down around that 74,400 mark. Bitcoin is currently trading at $75,074, and you can see it's above the previous all-time high. Well done, everyone. You can also see that around this 75,800 are two levels of structural resistance. For the bears to get control over the market, they're going to have to push it down below 74,400 and then downwards. For the bulls to maintain control on the market, they're going to have to get above 75,800. Now, when we looked at total crypto market cap, you know this area on total has virtually no structural overhead resistance. We could see a big move in the alts if we get up above 76,400. Please keep this in mind. The difference between our community and other communities on YouTube or X or wherever on social media, we just distance ourselves from the emotions of the market. We look objectively at the charts through an institutional perspective and not a retail one. Retail will draw just recent indicative price lines here and say, oh, all the resistance is here. Actually, it's not there. It's here. Oh, no, all the resistance is there. Actually, it's up here. And there are two levels. Oh, all the resistance is there. No, there's no resistance there. That's an interplay in between different charts. The key chart to look at today are the futures of the major indices, and we can already see they're looking reasonably healthy. Please make sure that you're looking at the structural levels of the S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell 2000, and the Nasdaq. They're going to be really important in the next 24 hours. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.